All right. Greetings and salutations, all my beloved airborne simians, and what up to everything sports fans. What a special day we have for you today. I have a dear friend of mine, Zachary K. Hubbard, Mr. By the Numbers, someone who I have been absolutely pleased to collaborate with on several occasions as far as I'm concerned. Each show has been, well, it's been rewarding. Go check it out for yourself. I've thoroughly enjoyed each show. And Zach, I have a special warmth and admiration for Zach because I've watched his personal growth and I've watched him hone in on Rome from the outside, objectively, and I give him just plenty of credit for that. And not only have I cited Zach in my books, I know that my team loves him as well and follows his work. So, Zach, thanks for taking your time out of your busy day to join us today, and we're going to talk about sports and Super Bowl and whatever you want.
Well, appreciate it, Johnny. Thanks for citing me in your books as well. You've been more proficient with finishing your books. I've been stuck on my third book for going on 5 years now, but I aim to get over that hump.
It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I am here to tell you, especially if you want to have names, places, and dates and numbers. It's a lot of work. John Paul's in the house. JP, how you doing, pal?
Check test. Good to see you guys.
Leave
Zach, great
Charlie.
to be on with you, man. Congratulations on your family and your new daughter. I really admire your family life and follow your work.
He looks disheveled because his little girl's been keeping him awake, he says.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's been fun though. It's definitely worth it.
Good stuff. Hey, so let's jump right into this. Really, the Super Bowl is the premier sports event. You could argue for the world, except for I know that's from an American point of view. I'm sure that FIFA and soccer actually beats it out by a long shot, but I don't have experience in that. But certainly on the world stage, the Super Bowl is one of the biggest sports events of all time. And the Godfather, it is the most Catholic game that I know of. The Godfathers of football being devout Roman Catholic out of Chicago, George Halas, and hyper devout Roman Catholic Vince Lombardi, Jesuit trained, almost priest. It doesn't get much more Catholic than that.
Truly. A lot of people don't realize that, and also how Lombardi died unexpectedly one day before the 1970 season began at Jesuit Georgetown. Absolutely. Whenever you're ready, I'll give people some very surface level things
Do
to
it.
understand about
Do
this
it. Hey,
year's
you're
game.
hitting me already. I didn't know he died in Georgetown. You're hitting me already. I've got to mark that down as I'm taking notes. Kick what you got, brother.
Yeah, and just for another note, I mean, it was 1970 in Gematria, Vatican equals 70, dead one day before the Vatican. To remind people, last year was the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday, February 11th. It was the 95th birthday of the Vatican. And the score was 25-22. Again, when I get on, I like to talk about gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. It's very obvious that the Jesuits aware this knowledge since probably at least the time. Well, again, the Jesuits are pretty much the modern day Templars. That's why the Templar cross is in their logo. But the story is that the Templars brought back this knowledge of Kabbalah with the Crusades to the church, and it spread through the European ruling class. That's where the term the Cabal came from. But again, gematria is the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. If you look into the English language, it was standardized with the 26-letter alphabet at the end of the 16th century, the same historical moment that the Gregorian calendar was implemented and credited to the Jesuit priest Christopher Clavius. Within the English language, there's four base ciphers. You want to know all four. It's the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. The reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1 back to A is 26. And both orders with numerology applied. So, for example, Vatican equals 70 if you just use the alphabetic order. If you use the alphabetic order with numerology, Vatican equates to 25 instead, just like Pope. Last year, the winning score on the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday was 25 points. Also, in the time of Pope Francis, he's only blessed one Super Bowl, and that was the one with Jesuit-educated Matt Ryan, who went it to Boston College, where he gave up the 25-point lead on 2-5 versus Tom Brady. Falcons, for the record, in Gematria equals 25. The Patriots became 5-2 in Super Bowls with Brady and Belichick. Of course, that date can also be written 5/2. If you just take the alphabetic order, Pope equals 52, like the 52-week calendar is named after the Pope. With numerology, it's 25. Again, like Vatican, like Falcons. But last year, the score was 25 to 22, 47 total points. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, Vatican equates to 47. Also, like government, like authority, like White House, like Republican, like Democrat, like Caesar, like time. It's a number of authority. And of course, time is the ultimate authority. But this perfect tribute in numbers to the Vatican on the Vatican's birthday, winning score 25, total 47 points. And you want to see how scripted it is? Add up the points and all of the Super Bowls that Andy Reid and Mahomes have been in. 211 points in all of those Super Bowls, with the last Super Bowl being on 211, when 211 is also the 47th prime number. So what a perfect day for the Vatican's birthday. So anyway, a big theme right now, if you're paying attention to the games, the Eagles are going 55 crazy. They scored 55 in the conference championship. In the 3 games they've played in the playoffs, they've allowed 10 points, 22 points, and 23 points. Put it together, they've allowed 55 points in the playoffs, scoring 55. The Super Bowl is on the 55th day of the Pope's age, 55. And, when you think Philadelphia, if you're thinking Bible, you're thinking Revelation. And of course, there's the letter written to the Church of Philadelphia about the synagogue of Satan. And of course, Satan has that gematria value of 55. And what's interesting is Mahomes, who's playing against the Eagles, along with Andy Reid, who used to coach the Eagles. Mahomes is trying to do what Montana did. Joe Montana, who played for the Niners and Chiefs, he's trying to win his 4th Super Bowl in New Orleans. And if you go back, when Montana won his 4th Super Bowl in New Orleans, he scored 55 points, blowing out the Denver Broncos 55 to 10. 65 points in the game. This just happens to be the Chiefs' 65th season. And Gematria, Philadelphia equals 65. The Chiefs are playing the Philadelphia Eagles in their 65th season in a tribute to Andy Reid, who's coached both teams. The other tribute is to Joe Montana. Notice Mahomes, the Super Bowls he's won, 2 against the 49ers, 1 against the Eagles so far. Where's Joe Montana from? If you look it up, he's from New Eagle, Pennsylvania. He's from the same state that the Eagles are in. And again, with regards to that 55 thing, there was just a major tragedy in Philadelphia on January 31st. Learjet 55 crashed on Roosevelt. And there's a lot to say about the here. We were talking about how there's 4 base ciphers. Type out Roosevelt, type out Super Bowl. It's the exact same in all 4 ciphers. 131 with the alphabetic order, like the crash was on January 31st, 131. 41 with the alphabetic order and numerology, both Roosevelt and Super Bowl, 131, 41. From the anniversary of the first Roosevelt 55 taking off, which happens to be what I call Ignatius of Loyola Day, April 19th, that happened in the year 79. From the anniversary of that date to the crash was exactly 41 weeks on the nose. Run the alphabetic order in reverse. Roosevelt and Super Bowl both equal 112. Chiefs also equals 112. For the record, when Mahomes beat Joe Montana's 49ers this year, that was 131 days after Joe Montana's birthday, 112 days before the Super Bowl, and Mahomes got his 41st regular season road win. The only Super Bowl cipher we haven't heard is in reverse with numerology. Super Bowl and Roosevelt both equal 49, kind of like the 49ers. When Mahomes beat the 49ers this year, it was also 4 months and 9 days after Montana's birthday. And for the record, Mahomes' next road win in his career is 49, and the AFC is the designated road team. Of course, the Chiefs are in the AFC. But again, it's scripted like this every year. And I'll remind people that Joe Montana equals 54. The first Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl was Super Bowl 54. The last one was last year, Super Bowl 58, the 54th of the modern era. Again, to get the modern era Super Bowl count, you just minus 4. So that means Super Bowl 59 is the 55th Super Bowl of the modern era on the Pope's 55th day of his age. Again, this Learjet 55 just crashed on Roosevelt, across from the Roosevelt Mall. When you think Roosevelt, of course, you think Teddy, but you also think Franklin Delano. FDR had 3 terms, the last 3-term president, like the Chiefs are attempting to become the first 3-peat team in NFL history. And when you think three-peats, you think of Jordan and Kobe. We all know Kobe being Bryant equals 54, dead the Sunday before Mahomes went on this tear. Who
And he was
coached
from Philly,
Michael and
right?
Kobe? Phil Jackson, who has the same birthday as Patrick Mahomes, September 17th. When you think three-peat, you think Pat Riley, another Patrick. And if you look up the man who actually coined the term three-peat, believe it or not, in Gematria, his name equates to 59. The man who coined the term three-peat, his name equals 59. And here we are with Super Bowl 59. Uh, just how scripted all of this stuff is. People being born for this. From the day that Mahomes was born, September 17th, 95, to the day that Kobe Bryant played his first NBA game, November 3rd, 96, exactly 59 weeks. Kobe's nickname, Black Mamba, equals 59. Of course, that's a snake. And here we are in the year of the snake. And what happened on the first day of the year of the snake this year? That was the day of the American Eagle crashing into the Black Hawk, and Black Hawk helicopters are named after Native American chiefs. The Black Hawk crashed into, or again, this crash in the nation's capital.
Sikorsky helicopters are named after, right?
Yeah, that was the first day of the year of the snake. And remember, Kobe, his death anniversary was 3 days earlier. I don't know if you saw what the Eagles put out on social media on the anniversary of his death, which was the day of the conference championships. The Eagles put out a drawing of a helicopter with a guy coming down a ladder going, "Let's go Eagles," on the anniversary of Kobe's death in a helicopter.
Wow.
But again, 3 days later, you get this helicopter tragedy in the nation's capital as, again, the Chiefs are trying to three-peat. They said 64 people were on the plane, 3 on the chopper for a total of 67. If you run
from
it forward,
Kansas, right?
Say that again?
The plane was from Kansas. Is that right?
The plane was from Wichita, Kansas, which is where Learjet is headquartered. Learjet's headquartered out of Wichita. Of course, the Learjet that crashed 2 days later in Philadelphia was heading to Missouri, where Kansas City is. And of course, Kansas City it's right on the border there of Kansas. But again, 64 people on the plane, 3 on the chopper for a total of 67. In Gematria, Kansas City Chiefs equals 64. Last year, they won the Super Bowl in their 64th season. Their owner, Norma Hunt, died just before the season on June 4th, 6-4, which is also the anniversary of the 49ers being established. And the Super Bowl ended up being Chiefs and Niners. The 67, if you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, Kansas City alone equals 67. Last year, Joe Montana was 67 years old when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. 67's the 19th prime. You wore 19 for the Chiefs. They were the first team to win back-to-back in 19 years. The guy who caught the game-winning score after it went to overtime, 19-19, was McCole Hardman, who caught his 19th career touchdown to win it. And if you even go back, I did a live stream of the entire Super Bowl. I started laughing at the beginning because I was explaining to people before the guys even took the field. I said, this whole game's going to be about 19. They literally had the first player take the field 19 minutes after the hour, and that was Deebo Samuel, who was still wearing number 19 last year. That's how scripted these games are. And you pay attention, this stuff goes on every year. They are paying tribute to numbers, time. It's truly all ritualism, and it is one big script. And then the sickest part of it all is how they continue to sacrifice people related to the games, former players, and almost nobody blinks an eye. Breaking news yesterday was that the Telemundo reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs just happens to die at age 27. The news broke yesterday that he had died for unknown reasons on Wednesday. Wednesday was February 5th, can be written 2-5 or 5-2. Dead at 27. The Chiefs' next all-time playoff win, which could come in the Super Bowl, will be their 27th. And if they win the Super Bowl, they'll be 5-2 in Super Bowls, kind of like how Kobe was 5-2 in championships. And there's also a piece here with Jesuit-educated Donald Trump, who got endorsed by Mahomes and his mother on Monday Night Football the night before Trump won the rigged election, which we told you years ago was going to happen, him coming back as Grover Cleveland. The term split terms 132, like 132 rooms in the White House. Trump's second term begins 132 years after Grover Cleveland's. But anyhow, you had this ritual with Monday Night Football and also the Cleveland Cavaliers, also the Monday night before the election. But I told you, all those words that equal 47, president, government, authority, White House. If you run the opposite direction, all of those words also equal 52. They all have a 52-47 connection. So if the Chiefs win, They're going to be 5-2. Trump's back in office. Trump equals 25 like felon, our first felon president in the year 2025. Again, all of this stuff is one big joke, and there's a straight line that connects all these things, and it is the Jesuit Masonic Alliance. Again, all of the American sports are credited to Freemasons. Again, modern Freemasonry has a lot of its roots in Jesuits and Jesuit priests who wrote the rites. And just to make a point, Pope Francis equates to 59, and if you run it in reverse, 58. 59 and 58. We have Super Bowl 58 and 59 perfectly synced with the Pope. Again, 58 was on the Vatican's birthday. Pope Francis became a Jesuit in 1958. Don't forget that Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year for Pope Francis. Don't forget the 59th elections, the one that gave us number 46. 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, when Catholic equals 46, going with the 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. But again, now here you have Super Bowl 59, the 55th of the modern era, on the Pope's 55th day of his age. Pope, again, equals 52 as well, like how the Chiefs have a chance to become 5-2. Again, going with the 52-week calendar.
Can you confirm the Eagles' all-time combined record as it sits right now?
Absolutely. I was saving that one for later. So the Eagles, right? So the Eagles kept the Commanders on 666 all-time wins, beating them in the conference championship. And in that game, they picked up their 666th win. And remember, that was on the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's death, the man who scored 81 points, his career high in his 666th game, when Mark of the Beast equals 81, just like Kobe being Bryant. In fact, Mark of the Beast and Kobe being Bryant both equal 81 and 54. And for the record, it also equals 144 like Jesuit order, another biblical number, the 144,000 chosen. Now, if the Eagles lose, they're going to stay on 666 wins, and they're also going to get their 666th franchise loss. And their record will become 17-4 for the year. If you spell out number of the beast as words, it equals 174. So their record's going to be 666 and 666 and 17-4 for the year. I'd encourage everyone to go back to last Saturday. We took advantage of it in our community. You had Texas Tech, Mahomes School, playing Houston as a severe underdog. Jalen Hurts is from Houston, the quarterback of the Eagles. We said, well, look at this. If Texas Tech upsets Houston, both schools are going to be 17-4, just like the number of the beast ritual riding on the game. And
Zach, let me just throw in real quick. Jalen Hurts, have you covered Jalen Hurts' birthday?
Jalen Hurts, his birthday is August 7th, correct?
Yes.
The day the Jesuits came out of suppression in history?
That's exactly right. August 7th, 1814 is when the Jesuits were resurrected.
And by the way, that was 144 days after James Madison's birthday. He was the sitting president at the time.
Wow.
Again, the United States of America equals 144 like Jesuit order. Just like how this year's election for Trump was 144 days after his birthday. In 2020, Georgetown simulated that Biden would win 144 days before the election. When Trump first became president back in 2017, he went to the Vatican and posed next to the Pope on the 144th day of the year. And on and on and on. There's certain numbers that are very repetitive to this order. For the record, New Orleans equals 144, also like Mark of the Beast. And Andy Reid began this season on 144 regular season wins with the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. It's either losses or wins, but he started with a 144 this year. If you've been watching the games this year, you've seen the State Farm ad with Andy Reid and Mahomes. Bundle-Rooski. And you can look up the exact spelling of that on their website. Bundle-Rooski. They say it over and over. Bundle-Rooski equals 145 in Gematria, just like three-peat. Also like Ron Torbert, who is the the ref of the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl is 145 days after Mahomes' birthday. Something people might have missed is the weekend where the Commanders upset the Lions. That was a tribute to Daniel 6, where Daniel escapes the Lions' den unscathed. Jaden Daniels is the quarterback of the Commanders this year. Again, they picked up their 666th franchise win in that game. And sometimes it's hard because had the Commanders lost that game, they would have got their 616th franchise loss. And Daniel 616 is where Daniel gets put into the Lions' den. But of course, the story is that he leaves unscathed, like how they upset the Lions. Oh, shoot. Just about the biblical themes. The word Bible has gematria of 105 if you run the alphabetic order in reverse. This is the 105th NFL season. Revelation, when you run it in reverse with numerology, equals 59. So you have Philadelphia in there, named in Revelation 3. You have this 666 thing going on. Other ways they paid tribute to the Bible during this season. O.J. Simpson, before the season began, again, this is the 105th season, the year of Super Bowl 59. The name Simpson equals 105. He died 59 days after the last Super Bowl was played, Super Bowl 58. And his death was announced one day after he died, at the same time the Masters was teeing off. Ephesians 6, verses 5 through 9, is about slaves obey your masters. Again, the word slave equals 59, like Negro, like blues, like Rasta, like how Motown came out in 59, like how Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year, except for in leap years. If you run it in reverse, all of those words, slave, Negro, blues, Rasta, equals 76. OJ's announced dead at 76 as the Masters is teeing off. The word master also equals 76. Of course, he made his name with the Bills mostly, and the 49ers, where he finished his career when he's from San Francisco. Keep in mind, San Francisco equals 76 as well, where the original Church of Satan was founded. But if you go to week 6, like Ephesians 6, and look at what happened in the NFL that week, the week began with the 49ers beating the Seahawks to give the 49ers their 666th franchise win to start week 6, winning their 6th straight versus the Seahawks. They won with 36 points. 666 is the 36th triangular number, meaning if you had 1 through 36 together, it equals 666. So the first game of the week was a 666 tribute in week 6 in tribute to OJ. The last game of the week was Monday Night Football, and the Bills won. So OJ's two teams that he played for won to start the week and end the week. And if you look, home teams did horrible that week. Home teams went 4-10 in week 6. What day did OJ Simpson die? 4-10, April 10th. When Josh Allen got eliminated last week by the Chiefs, he fell to 7-6 in the postseason. And all year they had him wear a glove as an OJ tribute. OJ and the glove. Johnny Cochran, Jesuit educated. When did he deliver that line? If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. He delivered that on September 27th, the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church, the day leaving 95 days left in the year to counter the 95 Theses. And keep in mind, the Vatican is going to be 95 years old. It turned 95 last year on the day of the Super Bowl. It'll turn 96 on February 11th, shortly after the season ends. But realize this first game of the season was a tribute to 95 as well. Baltimore equals 95. The Chiefs beat Baltimore in the opener on 9-5 to become 9-5 against them all time. There's been a lot of 95 stuff throughout the season. If you write out the phrase number of the beast, it also has a gematria, or excuse me, I take it back. If you write out 666, that's what it is. It equals 95. 666 equals 95. 95 weeks in a day is 666 days. So even the calendar has a 666 tribute in it associated with 95. 95 weeks in one day is 666 days. I can go on and on and on. Oh, here, one other 666 tribute they did during the season. It was also on Thursday Night Football with the Seahawks. Remember, Seattle is where the Beast Quake happened with Marshawn Lynch, who's another Bay Area guy where the Church of Satan happened. Seattle's on the 47th parallel, and the word beast equals 47. So Seattle this year, also on Thursday Night Football, gave the Bears their 666th franchise loss. And there were big bird flu stories in Seattle and a smaller one in Chicago at the time of that game. Bird flu has this connection as well. It's a whole other thing. They put that number, that 666, all over the pandemic. If you recall, there were signs everywhere, stand 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The first pandemic simulation was exactly 666 days before it was declared. But in the game where the Bears got their 666th loss, the score was 3-6. Again, 666, the 36 triangular number. So they've been doing this biblical theme a lot this year with games. And it's not to say they haven't done this in sports before, but it's been just, I've never seen a whole bunch of 666 rituals in any one season until this year, the year of the 105th season, where again, Bible equals 105. And again, Super Bowl 59, where Revelation has the 59 connection, and it all being synced up with the Pope, who's the head of essentially the whore of Babylon. So
What do you think
want to
of?
drop a few things in there, Johnny, real quick.
Go ahead.
Of all the thousands of universities that we have in the United States, only 27 are Jesuit run and openly Jesuit established and run. 2 of them are in the state of Washington, one being the University of Seattle. And I just want to credit Zach for being one of the few voices out there that, even despite his popularity, he's still able to represent things. Calling April 19th Ignatius of Loyola Day,
right. Nobody
instead
does
of
that. Nobody
citing
does that.
all of the other conspiracies that have happened on that. It's bona fides that we really appreciate, Zach. So good for you.
Nobody does that. And of course, Josh Allen is the MFL, the Mahomes Football League's MVP over Lamar Jackson. And I can't help but wonder if a big part of that is because he showed what a team player he was with the Damar Hamlin ridiculous psyop.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
So, George,
I went back and sorry, go ahead,
go
George.
JP. No, go ahead. Go, JP first, then George.
I just was going to say that I went back and watched the movie Any Given Sunday in preparation for coming on here today. And wow, there's too much to mention. But 19 is a prominent number in there. The first quarterback that gets injured and has to come back. And there's some preposterous scenes of Al Pacino trying to be this tough coach and say things that mean anything to these players. But there's quite a lot of, I'm sure, numerology. I don't know if you've ever broken that down before, Zach, but the prominent numbers are the first quarterback is number 19, the other quarterback's number 13, and LL Cool J, the guy who's saying, I don't care if we lose, I want my bonus. He's wearing number 33 the whole time. So I'm sure there's hours of stuff to discern.
I gave up taking notes. I'm just going to go back to the show. I'm recording. I'll have to go back and start all over and take notes again because the guy is a machine. The notes that I was able to take, never forget Andy Reid, part of the Dead Son Club, the whole Kobe Bryant, LeBron James score surpassing Philadelphia. Everybody involved is Catholic. And real quick over Georgia, you're getting ready. I want to throw out these. I have a running spreadsheet. Now we've expanded. I found that if you expand from April 19th to go 2 or 3 days before, 2 or 3 days after, you just get a whole range of amazing dates throughout history. 21 April 753 BC, Rome is considered to be founded. 20 April 571 AD, held by many as the birth date of the Prophet Muhammad. 18 April 1160, Theobald of Bec dies, ushering in Saint Martyr Thomas Becket over poor Henry II, father of John. 19 April 1479, Lucrezia Borgia is born to her Roman Catholic celibate Pope Father Rodrigo de Borgia, a.k.a. Alexander VI. 17 April 1521, Augustinian monk Martin Luther is excommunicated. 20 April 1534, French Roman Catholic explorer Jacques Cartier sets sail under commission from Francis I, lands in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. 19 April 1541. This is why we love Zach. This is what we always say. That is the most important 19 April, where Ignatius of Loyola becomes the very first superior general. 19 April 1775. Again, we love Zach for this because we heavily preach out of Frederick Tupper Saucy's Rulers of Evil that the United States was created from the beginning as the sword arm of Rome. This is something that you're not going to get from guys like Eric John Phelps, that promotes the idea that George Washington was a Baptist Calvinist and everything was evangelical Protestant, and then the country was taken over. We say the country was founded from the beginning as the sword arm of Rome. That's 19 April 1775, Lexington and Concord. That's where the revolution starts. 20 April 1799, in a letter to Jews, Napoleon Bonaparte declares Palestine is now theirs. But unfortunately, he loses the siege of Acre and cannot see it done. 19 April 1865, 25 million Americans attend the memorial service of Abraham Lincoln. 22 April 1870, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, a.k.a. Lenin, is born. 17 April 1882, Bernard Stampfel, ghostwriter of Mein Kampf, is born in Jesuit-controlled Roman Catholic Bavaria, today modern Munich. 20 April 1889, Adolf Hitler is born in Brunau, Austria, on the south bank of the river, across from Bavaria, Munich. 19 April 1933, Shriner Freemason Franklin Roosevelt made it illegal for commoners to own gold. 18 April 1942, Freemason Jimmy Doolittle randomly bombs Japanese civilians in an act of terror. 17 to 19 April in 1961, ending in 19 April 1961. Cuban patriots are betrayed and slaughtered on the beaches of the Bay of Pigs, thanks to Catholics in action. 22 April 1970, Earth Day, the first Earth Day. 19 April 1971, Russia launches the Salyut space station. Yeah, sure they did. 20 April 1972, the lunar module Apollo 16 touches down on the moon location Descartes. And there's how many? There's like 27 different fixtures on the moon named after Jesuits, something like that. 19 April 1982, NASA announces the crew of STS-7 Challenger, Sally Ride, and first black astronaut, University of Pennsylvania's own Guion S. Bluford Jr. 19 April 1989, a jilted homosexual sailor sabotages 16-inch turret number 2 on the Iowa. Explosion kills 45. 19 April 1993, Jesuit-trained Bill Clinton and his gender-indeterminate attorney general, what asshole wrote this? Janet Reno burn alive 80 renegade Adventist men, women, and children at Waco. 20 April 1999, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold kill 13 at Columbine High. 19 April 2005, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger becomes Benedict number 16. 20 April 2010, 11 die at the BP Deepwater Horizon oil rig, which is sabotaged in the Gulf of Mexico. 20 April 2020, Germany finally lifts the coronavirus restrictions. 20 April 2020, the House, like the Senate, will not turn D.C. over until the April 20th passing of the $2 trillion coronavirus stimulus. All right, let me shut up and see if any of that sparks anything from... hang on, George, in just a second. Let me pause. George, go ahead and prep Zach if you have anything. I promise you I'd get to you first. Go ahead, pal.
Well, thank you, Johnny. Hello, Zach, and hello, JP. And by the way, congratulations on fatherhood, Zach. I'll send you my address so you can send me a cigar.
Send you a cigar. You're supposed to send him the cigar, goofball. Come on. What do you got for him?
Oh, I beg your pardon. Well, you'll have to send me your address so I can send you one. Okay, couple of things. Zach, did you cover the death of Faye Vincent?
I did not.
Really? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I try to watch as many of your streams as possible, but I don't get to all of them. So he was the commissioner, the baseball commissioner. Francis Vincent was the Major League Baseball commissioner from 1989 to 1992. And he was involved with all sorts of flags. Remember, he replaced Bart Giamatti, the father of actor Paul Giamatti. And the elder Giamatti was involved with the whole Pete Rose scandal, kicking him out of baseball. And okay, so how is this material of the conversation? Vincent, in addition to being a devout, lifelong Roman Catholic, was actually a Jesuit seminarian. So I just thought I would just mention that little.
Okay, well done. Give it to me again, George. What's the first name?
Francis
F-A-Y.
Fay.
Fay. F-A-Y.
Zach
Just
did
for
some
the record,
great stuff on
Jesuit.
Pete Rose. I think you showed the picture with the guy playing first base in the Pete Rose famous breaking the all-time hits record is some famous guy that came in. I remember the streams about it. I'm sorry I don't remember the details, but great work on that and good stuff to bring up, George.
Or about Steve Garvey when he was playing.
Steve Garvey, that's it.
The Padres were playing the Reds in Cincinnati when Pete Rose, on September the 11th, 1985, surpassed. I'm drawing whoever it was. It wasn't Roger Hornsby.
Ted Williams?
No. I should know this. He said the career hit. Yes, thank you. Kai Cobb. So yes, Pete Rose was on first base when Pete Rose established the all-time hit record. Also, 11 years earlier, Steve Garvey was playing for the LA Dodgers when Henry Aaron surpassed Babe Ruth's all-time home run record, which that was in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, and I know that now. I realize Faye Vincent was involved with baseball, and we're talking primarily about the NFL. Now, I know you've covered Bob Euchre a couple times, so I won't belabor that. And yes, he was a devout, lifelong Roman Catholic. Mr. Baseball.
Must be in the front row. Yeah, well done, George. I don't even think I have Bob Euchre in my list, with my extensive list on sports, bread, and circuses. Well done, George.
Oh, speaking of bread and circuses, where they're going to be having the game in about 40, just over 48 hours, is called Caesar's Dome. It was originally called the Superdome.
Right.
Yep. Well done.
And if you see that thing, if you ever go to New Orleans, that thing looks just like the Roman Colosseum, just bursting out of the skyline there. It's the biggest thing around, and it seems like it's bigger than other stadiums to me. Maybe it's just because the architecture of New Orleans isn't as huge as other places, but it's as big as Caesar would have wanted for sure.
Bob Euchre played for the St. Louis Cardinals. That was the second team that he played for, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's the same pattern as the football team, the Cardinals. It's not the Little Birds. It's named after Roman Catholic Cardinals.
Well, if you look at their uniform, their logo they've had for over a century is a couple of red birds holding a bat.
Right. But the original genesis, I trace this myself in relation to the football team. Even though they do the same thing, they use the little red bird as the mascot. But the genesis, the origins of the team name, is based on the Roman Catholic prelate.
Okay. Also, have you, as Johnny or Zach, has anybody talked about the people who run the Eagles? Jeff Lurie?
Yeah, hit it, George.
Okay, so his late father-in-law, Stan Weiss. Now, Jeffrey Lurie is Jewish, and I'm just simply stating a fact here. And his father-in-law, his late father-in-law, Stanley Weiss, went to Georgetown University and got his degree from the Edmund A. Walsh School of Foreign Services.
Well done. That reminds me of Mel Brooks's Straight Man, Carl Reiner.
Oh,
Carl Reiner. So why would a Jewish comedian get a degree at the Georgetown School of Foreign Service? That was one of the craziest things ever. Again, who really runs the world? Is it the Jewish name in the face that pushed up front, or the ones that train them and taught them and indoctrinate them? Zach, is there anything that you wanted to jump in and out on?
There's a number of things I could say. I did want to go back to one point that I forgot to mention about the Super Bowl. Will Smith, the actor, musician, major celebrity from Philadelphia. He has a movie called Focus. Have you ever seen this movie, Focus?
I have not. Anybody else?
It's set in New Orleans, where the Super Bowl is, and it's very much focused on gambling and numerology and sports. And there's a very specific scene where it's all about the number 55 and how he trains this guy's mind and he dupes him with the number 55. So that movie came out probably a decade or so ago now. No doubt that's just more predictive programming for this Super Bowl that we're witnessing, that they dropped that 55 with Will Smith all those years ago. And I want to remind people that the night that Will Smith got his Lifetime Achievement Award from the MTV Movie Awards, that year they had a gold and black stage, like how the Saints wear gold and black. And again, his movies, it was shortly after that Focus movie came out. I think that was the most recent movie he had done right before he got that award. But the same night that he's getting that award, you might recall there was a Will Smith, the football player who played for the Saints, who was murdered that same night. On the exact same night, Will Smith of the Saints. A lot of this stuff, and just again, just ritualistic deaths with the games. A former chief, Jimmy Wilkerson, died at 43. Football equals 43. He died at 43 on Taylor Swift's birthday. Of course, she's dating Travis Kelce, at least so we're told in the headlines. From her birthday.
Wait. So we're told in the headlines. Why do you say that?
Because I just think all this stuff's like arranged. Like they didn't really have choice over their lives. They get put in these. So I'd like to make a point that this Travis Kelce Taylor Swift relationship started last year during the 104th season, ending with Super Bowl 58. Taylor Allison Swift, her full name equals 104. Swift alone equals 58. You're bringing up baseball. Patrick Mahomes' father was a pro baseball player. He got to witness the Yankees three-peat. He was playing on the New York Mets when the Yankees three-peated against him. And by the way, this year when the Chiefs beat the Saints, that just happened to be 59 days after Mahomes' father's birthday, who was drafted in the drafted into MLB by Minnesota. The Chiefs won their first Super Bowl over Minnesota with Super Bowl IV, like Mahomes is trying to win his fourth Super Bowl this year, and the same place that Montana did. Um, Another death that happened for the Eagles on Christmas Day, or Sol Invictus, Bill Bergey of the Eagles. Remember, right before
Number
Christmas,
66. I know him well. Yep.
Yeah, Joe Biden, who's an Eagles fan because he's from Pennsylvania as well, Scranton, home of The Office. You know, you see the Jesuit prep school flag in that show. But Joe Biden had just made the bald eagle officially the national bird with some sort of executive order or legislation. In Gematria, bald eagle equals 31. It was either the next day or 2 days later that Bill Bergey, the 31st pick of the draft, lost with the Eagles. And keep in mind, Bill Bergey lost to the Raiders in Super Bowl 15 when he was with the Eagles in New Orleans. And the next team to three-peat in pro sports history will be the 15th team to do so, like how Mahomes wears 15. Again, all of this stuff is total ritualism, and that's what we need to catch on to. At the beginning of the season, who drops dead? Jacoby Jones, dead at age 40. Where's he from? New Orleans, which is hosting the Super Bowl on the 40th day of the year. He was in the last Super Bowl in New Orleans. He was the amazing receiver and kick returner who ran one back for a touchdown when they beat the 49ers in the Harbaugh Bowl. And don't forget, there was the 34-minute blackout in that Super Bowl. I wonder what they're going to do this time around.
Right.
Things that equal 34 in Gematria. Mahomes, Francis, as in being synced up with the Pope. Black, as in a blackout for 34 minutes. The word beast also has that 34. By the way, you know, you had the mass tragedy where the guy drove over the crowd and then got in a gun shootout on New Year's Day. For Bill, missed that. That's something to recap real quick. New Year's Day began with the tragedy in New Orleans, and then the cyber truck exploding at Trump Tower, and then the club shooting in Queens at Asmus, all those. So New Orleans to New York on New Year's Day. But here's the connection. 2025, the year. That number has a square root of 45. And notice we get the return to number 45 in this year in the rig selection. But in Gematria, New Orleans equals 45. Cybertruck equals 45. Azamura, or however you say that club name that got shot up, equals 45. So that was all to start the year on 2025. Again, we're having the Super Bowl in New Orleans in 2025. And don't forget they shifted that around because initially last year's Super Bowl was supposed to be in New Orleans and this year's was supposed to be in Vegas at the Raiders Stadium, but they swapped it. Again, reasons for all of this stuff. So yeah, I wanted to recap that. And then you brought up the death of Faye Vincent. So just looking at it real quickly, from his birthday, May 29th, which is also JFK's birthday anniversary. For the record, that's the 149th day of the year, which is the 35th prime, and JFK number 35, killed on I-35 when Catholic equals 35. Run it in reverse, Catholic 46, like he was killed at 46. But from his birthday to his death, 248 days later, the country right now is 248 years old, as is the Illuminati, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Remember, President Donald Trump equals 248. When he won the election the first time back in 2016, it got called for him while he was on 248 electoral votes. This year, 47 days before the election, Oprah, who asked Trump if he'd want to be president back in 88, she had a rally with Kamala 47 days before the election of number 47 in the 248 area code. All part of the ritualism and mockery. But this 248's been big while the country and Illuminati is 248 years old. So Faye Vincent's dead 248 days after his birthday. You brought up the Jesuit connection. The word Jesuit equals 21. He's dead on 2-1. Or if you run it in reverse, Jesuit equals 42, like February, dead on the first day of February. That's the 32nd day of the year. The Jesuit logo has the 32 sun rays. When he was commissioner, the Dodgers won that World Series. They didn't win another World Series until 32 years later over the Rays. Think about it, 32 sun rays on the Jesuit Order's logo. And the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite shares the In Merim Dei Gloriam motto with the Jesuits. But just off the top, those are some things that stand out right away about his death. And about Bob Euchre, so I'm really annoyed right now because ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, I started experiencing way more censorship and losing a
Me
lot of
too.
posts.
Wow.
I had never ever been suspended or had my account deleted. I just got my account deleted 1 week after his Nazi salute, and I'm pretty sure it was for calling that out. But I had started doing a lot of posts exclusively on my Twitter to try and get more attention to it. So I regret doing this now because had I just kept doing them on my own site, I would have lost about 500 posts that were on there, including my Bob Euchre decode. And the other thing that was frustrating is I was getting really good views on the video service of Twitter. See, I had just signed up for the paid monthly service. I paid a year in advance. It was like $200. The reason I didn't want to give any money to that creep because I do not like Musk, the little Jesuit puppet he is, but I was realizing I was getting huge views on his video service. I got deleted just days after covering the Rig Conference Championships. That video had 3,000 people watching the live stream. So I think it was between that and calling out the little Nazi salute he did. For the record, for people who didn't catch the ritual he did with his little salute, which some people are saying, oh, it's not a Nazi salute, it's a Roman salute. There are variations of the same thing. Again, he did that on the 207th day of his age. In Gematria, Warner von Braun equals 207, the Nazi who wrote the book Project Mars, where the lead character is the Elon. That book was published in English in the year 53, 1953. That's how old Elon Musk is right now, 53. And the day he did that was Inauguration Day, which is 20/1, which is also the 201st day of the nation's age. Remember, the Jesuit order equals 201, like Ignatius of Loyola equals 201, like Jorge Mario Bergoglio equals 201. That's Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. Again, the last French pope was the 201st. From Martin Luther pinning the 95 Theses to the Jesuits being created was 201 months later. From Martin Luther King Jr. getting smoked on the 95th day of the year to the nation's first gun control legislation 201 days later. When Catherine the Great preserved the Jesuits, she did it with 201 Jesuit priests. There's this huge 201 thing with the Jesuits. January 20th, which has not always been Inauguration Day, is the 201st day of the nation's age. And that's how you can see how this nation was quickly taken over by the Jesuits from the beginning. That's why they moved the capital to their stronghold, D.C. We get the first president, according to the history book, the same year that Georgetown is established. George Washington, who was favorable to the Catholic Church, became president 2 months later in 1789. And then next thing you know, Inauguration Day is eventually moved to the 201st day of the nation's age. Remember, Trump, he sacrificed his ex-wife 45 years after their marriage, exactly 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuit nation year, buried her on the 201st day of the year.
Wait a minute, Zach. That's not fair.
On the golf course?
She fell down the stairs into a golf course. That's not a fair thing to say about our president.
Exactly. But to keep it fair, again, Joe Biden sacrificed Beau Biden at 46, 201 days before the Pope's birthday. When he became senator-elect in 72, his wife and daughter just happened to die on Limestone Road, which equals 201, and on and on and on. This has been going on. You want to be in that throne, you want to be in that puppet position, you better give up some family members.
And they know this. They know this. The Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie. They portray this. The Jude Law bad guy goes through this. He's got to kill his first. I think he kills his daughter. And the Dead Son Club. Just ask Andy Reid. The Dead Son Club.
It's a big club, and yeah, you're gonna have to sacrifice some family members if you want to be on the world stage. It's the cost. The cost is blood.
Johnny?
Yeah. So again, the same day that Trump said he was running for the election was the same day that his wife did. It wasn't his formal announcement. It was the day he came out and said, yeah, I'm going to be running. And again, 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuit nation year, Donald Trump equals 60. This was the 60th election. As we were saying back then, 1860 and 1960 gave us elections that ended with assassinations. The Jesuits, their first decade with the Roman Catholic Church, their order was limited to 60 members. The word order itself equals 60. Another significant number to the cabal. And again, let's not forget that when Biden first became senator-elect in 72, Jesuit order equals 72, like how we got the first Jesuit pope on the 72nd day of the year. For the record, President Biden and President Trump both equal 72. Goes with the 72 names of God in Kabbalah, 72 demons in the Goetia. Has to do with why the jab schedules become 72 shots. And don't forget RFK Jr., Jesuit educated at Georgetown Prep. He put out the video RFK Jr. the Snake on 7/2, and then his testimony with Congress began on the first day of the Year of the Snake. Year of the Snake equals 72. Of course, Trump for years has been telling that poem of "You knew I was a snake, but you let me in," and he gets right back in before the Year of the Snake begins. RFK Jr. happens to equal 72, just like Year of the Snake. Again, you think about the caduceus, or however you say that word, the medical symbol with the snakes on it. What was RFK Jr. getting grilled on? His stance on the jabs. All these politicians coming out and saying you're going so against the science. All the science says that the jabs are perfectly safe and effective and healthy. It's just like, look at all these paid for, just horrible human being. It's just, and then what was sad to watch if you watched RFK Jr. is he might, some of the things he says, like, I think everybody can get behind in the truth community, but he's definitely one of these Jesuit stooges. If you watched him in that testimony, he was wishy-washy on everything. And he's like, oh yeah, maybe it is. If it is, then I'll say it is. Again, it's less like, dude, stand on something. Come out and say, well, listen, here's the way I'm looking at it. And look at the last few decades. Look at the obesity. Look at all the autism. Look at all the SIDS. Look at all the new disease and illness. Look at all the turbo cancers in children. Where did all this come from? Science says it's not this, but has no explanation. I don't buy it. And that's what I would like to hear. And if I knew somebody was a real leader, that's what I'd be saying if I was RFK Jr. and had written the books he had and been and participated in the conversations he has. But he gets in front of Congress. He's like, oh, well, I'm not sure. And if the CDC says so, I'll say so too.
Right.
Snakes, all of them. And people get so fooled by this puppet show, whether it's a Trump or an RFK Jr., Bernie Sanders or whatever. Just all the people
they're outsiders, Zach. They're outsiders. Wait a minute. They're multi-millionaire Kennedy, a Jesuit-trained Roman Catholic lawyer politician, is our outsider hero, Robert Francis Jr. George, you trying to jump in? I want to read what I have in Disciples of Ra, and I'll pause for both you guys, George and JP. I know you have stuff. Go.
Okay, so Johnny, you made reference to the Dead Sons Club. Well, I suppose you can call it the Dead Family Club.
Right. It's a euphemism. It's a dead close relative club. Go ahead.
Okay, so there are a number of people whom people probably never heard of. There's a congressman in New York, Daniel Sachs Goldman. Yes, he's of the Sachs nobility, and he's also of the Levi Strauss lineage. I don't have this in front of me, but he's not quite 50 years old. Well, back in 2017, his younger brother Bill, or actually his older brother Bill, was killed in a plane crash in Sonoma, California, which is almost literally in my backyard, at the age of 38. Now, Bill was a history professor at University of San Francisco, and the Goldmans are Jewish. I'm not sure how Bill got his gig there. So there's this, perfect weather. The plane was fine. It just simply fell out of the sky.
Yeah. Let me go to JP, and then I'll read this from my citation of Zach and Disciples of Ra. Go ahead, JP.
Just wondering for Zach, it seems like that there's sometimes contingency when the gematria seems to line up exactly. And I'm just wondering, do you, in your estimation, do they always do we have an out in gematria to honor some other gematria number if things don't go to plan? Or what do you think about that? Come down to this example. To me, there's like damage control in the mainstream media about how rigged this upcoming Super Bowl is. Is there any gematria that would serve for the Chiefs to not three-peat and for the Eagles to somehow win this Super Bowl coming up? Or, I don't gamble, but if I did, I would not put any money on the Eagles, unless it's the over-under or whatever. And then I wanted to kind of get into the odds making and everything like that too, because it always seems to be like exact, and that they must have some sort of insider track on this gematria knowledge as well.
Oh, absolutely. They use this to write the script, no doubt about it. Yeah, for example, we've been on the Chiefs three-peating since we've been talking about this for a long time, since way before the preseason. We've been talking about the Chiefs three-peating. So it is the narrative I'm on. That said, pretty much everyone in my community has had that bet in for a long time. I'm telling my people to hedge anyway. It's always smart to hedge your bet. Wise men hedge their bets. Here are 3, maybe 4 reasons to think the Chiefs don't three-peat. I'm going to admit, I'll be a little bit surprised if they don't. I laid out the case for why. Coming back to the whole 55 thing, 55 is a big number on the game. What's the only Super Bowl that Mahomes lost? 55 to Brady, and Brady's giving out the trophy. So if they want to keep the conversation, oh, Brady's definitely still the GOAT. And don't forget that, you guys. GOAT equals 43. Greatest of all time equals 188. When Brady won his last Super Bowl, he was 43 years old. It was 188 days before his birthday. And what happened in the days before the Super Bowl? Murders in the Goatville neighborhood at Yale, which also equals 43. Yale's 43. To this day, there's still unsolved murders. American football is credited to Walter Camp, who was a Freemason, but also a Skull and Bones member who went to Yale. Those things were not separate. You might recall what they did to DMX. DMX died shortly after the Super Bowl, announced in a coma on 4/3, April 3rd, 21, 4/3/21. DMX has a song with LL Cool J called 4/3/21, where LL Cool J ends the song saying he's the greatest of all time. LL Cool J also has channel 43 on Sirius XM. There were a lot of things that went on with the GOAT rituals. I've forgotten some of them, but the Goatville and that will always stay fresh in my mind. Again, this stuff's just par for the course. There's always ritual sacrifice with these big games before the game, leading up, after. Right at the start of the season, Abner Haynes of the Chiefs died. And remember, Abner Haynes actually played for the Dallas Texans that became the Kansas City Chiefs. That's part of the reason last year they had the shooting at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade on February 14th, 214. 214 is the Dallas area code. Of course, JFK died at Parkland Hospital in Dallas in the 214. That's also why they had the Parkland shooting on 214. And don't forget, that was right after the Eagles beat Brady in Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School was named after a woman from Minnesota, the 612 area code, and that shooting in Florida was 612 days after the Pulse nightclub shooting that was on 6/12, and that also factored into the NBA Finals that year, where LeBron was criticized for the outfit he wore the day after the shooting, playing in Florida, wearing the WWE Undertaker shirt. Anyway, again, you learn this knowledge. You see how they're weaving all this stuff together. But to come back to your question about the Eagles, again, Mahomes did lose in Super Bowl 55. I mentioned now in Gematria, Super Bowl equals 131, 41, 112, 49. Home teams right now in the playoffs are 10-2. If the Eagles won, home teams would become 11-2, kind of like 112. Both Chiefs and Super Bowls 112. So they have that. Eagles in Gematria equals 22. If the Chiefs lost in the Super Bowl, they'd get their 22nd postseason loss all time. That 22 is showing up in 2 of the Eagles games. I believe the Rams lost with 22, and the Eagles won the wild card round with 22 points over the Packers. And don't forget, the Packers and the Eagles opened the season in Brazil, which equals 40, and now we have the Super Bowl on the 40th day of the year. A nation with a green flag between 2 green teams, very Catholic country. So you have the 22 threat, you have the 112 threat. Philadelphia also equals 61. The word church is 61. The word Christian is 61. The word Christmas is 61. Again, you have the Church of Philadelphia in Revelation. If Andy Reid lost, he'd get his 61st loss with the Chiefs. So you have those 3 things. And maybe the 4th thing is the date numerology of the Super Bowl is 11, and 11 breaks down to 2. And again, if home teams won, or the Eagles are the home team for the Super Bowl, if they won, home teams would be 11-2 in the playoffs. Keep in mind, though, if they lose, they're going to be 10-3, and this is a rematch of the 103rd season where State Farm equals 103. And, of course, the 103rd season is where Mahomes beat Hurts in State Farm Stadium, and he came into that game 10-3 in the playoffs. Not to mention 103 is the 27th prime number, and, again, if the Chiefs win, they're going to get their 27th win. Revelation is the 27th book of the New Testament. So, again, the narrative is definitely stronger for the Chiefs. You always got to weigh both sides of the equation. It's very rare that you get a game that's just a one-way street in numbers. It does happen, though. I mean, it's what we look for every day. Like a couple days ago in college basketball, UCLA had just like 10 reasons to beat Michigan State with great value, and there was nothing on Michigan State's side. But a lot of times you are looking and you're going, okay, you got to, all right, they do double code things. And another phrase that they use in sports, they often say you couldn't have scripted it any better. And sometimes you hear them say, They flipped the script on this one. They said that when the Eagles beat Brady at the end of the game. They said, oh, they flipped the script on this one. And for people who don't know, here's my resume. I've been doing the Super Bowl every year since Super Bowl 48. That's when I came into the Gematria knowledge. From Super Bowl 48 through 58, I've only gotten it wrong one time, but it wasn't that far off. And our hedge bet paid way more than the actual game, so it actually ended up being a good thing. The Super Bowl I got wrong was Super Bowl 52. Now, we had a great season because we had that Super Bowl match called in week 3. That was the year that Trump took on the protesters of the flag on the 23rd of September, like 239. The flag was sewn at 239 Arch Street in Philadelphia. Trump has the same birthday as the flag, June 14th. When he took office in 2017, the flag was 239 years old. And you might recall how when Trump first became president, they kept doing stories about him getting his physicals. If you look at the first story, the doctor said he weighed 239 pounds. But anyway, 239 is the 52nd prime. Minnesota's 52. That's where that Super Bowl was that year. I forgot to mention how the Eagles won in this high school that got shot up right after Marjorie Stoneman Douglas from Minneapolis. They were the Eagles, and their logo was the exact same as the Philadelphia Eagles. That high school's also put a number of players into pro athletes. Rizzo in the MLB, a hockey star whose name I can't think of right now, even more people. But anyway, coming back to the year that the Eagles beat the Patriots, we knew that whole year was about the flag and the national anthem. So I said, how perfect if Philadelphia plays the team with the flag on the helmet, the Patriots. And I said, the reason I favored the Patriots to win is because Brady kept doing all of these 62 rituals all year. Minneapolis equals 62. And had he won the Super Bowl, he would have been 6-2. But again, it was all about the flag, and Philly's the home of the flag. And I said, watch this. If the Eagles end up winning this game, Zach Ertz will score the winning touchdown, number 86 days after his birthday, because the national anthem was adopted 86 years earlier. So I told people to take that. You can bet on a guy to score the last points or the last touchdown of a game. That's huge payout. It's usually 20 to 30 to 1. Zach Ertz was like 25 to 1 to score the winning touchdown for Super Bowl 52. Zach Ertz did score the winning touchdown. So imagine you made a bet on Patriots to win, and you just did a little small hedge bet on Zach Ertz at 25 to 1 to score the winning touchdown. You came out a happy camper. Not to mention we went flawless in the playoffs that year and had the right Super Bowl future from week 3. But again, every year these games are a tribute to history. They're full of ritual sacrifice. It's just clockwork. And not to mention, there's a huge connection with Philly and the Bay. You might recall Colin Kaepernick started the protest that year as still a 49er on the 239th day of the year. That was the day he took a knee during the national anthem, which started the trend. So Philly in the Bay. Think about what Mahomes is now doing. He's playing against the 49ers 2 times and the Eagles 2 times. And again, the Warriors who are in the Bay started in Philly. The Athletics who are now leaving the Bay, they started in Philly. There's been a lot of coaches and players who've gone from the Bay to Philly. Too Short, the rapper associated with the Bay Area. He's in Philadelphia celebrating for the conference championship because his song Blow the Whistle has become the theme song out there. His brother is killed while he's in the city of brotherly love back in Oakland at age 61. Philadelphia 61. That's one of the numbers that could haunt the Chiefs. So yeah, just to be fair, there is a little narrative for the Eagles, but like I said, I'll still be surprised. I'm still going to tell my people to hedge. Wise men always hedge their bets, and that's why I got haters that always like, Zach will tell you to hedge the bet. He's never 100% confident. It's like, anyone who acts like they're 100% like they know the future is a fraud and a liar. Right. I just try to keep people in the winning lanes.
That's absolutely fair. And I can't help but wonder, they have such a total lock on control that it's like an election. It's like an election, right? Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. They're going to win. It doesn't matter who gets in. They have a script for either one. It doesn't matter. Now, sometimes the script is more important and overrides. I personally feel that the phony Republicans, the phony conservative Republicans, they are important for the really big false flags. They had to have a fake conservative Bush Republican in for 9/11. They had to have a fake Republican Trump in for the scamdemic. And then when they really push things, they want to push socialized medicine. They have Obama in, they have the Democrats running Congress. And when they want to shore up all of the tyranny that they did for the scamdemic, they put Biden in. That's kind of scary. I don't know what big false flag they're going to pull off now that they've brought the big orange phallus back in. But
Johnny,
go ahead, George.
Okay, Zach, I just want to get your opinion. I don't have anything concrete here. I'm not sure if you've been following this, but this is analogous of like 2016, 2017 when Pepperneck, Colin Pepperneck wasn't taking the knee for the national anthem. The thing that is popular now is, was a couple of days ago, the Raptors, the Canadian hockey team, were booing during the U.S. national anthem. Now, for those who don't know, whenever, okay, whenever an American team plays in Canada, they do the Canadian national anthem, and then they do the U.S. national anthem in reverse. And same thing is if a Canadian team goes to the U.S.
Right, like when the Raptors play in the U.S., you hear both anthems. I'm aware, George. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, for those who may be listening, the audience. Okay, so when they're doing the U.S., the American national anthem in Toronto the other day, they started booing. Now I've not looked into this, but that reminds me of the whole Pepperdeck kneeling thing. It was like to foment agitation among the crowd. This is just more of a gut feeling. Do you have any takes on that?
Take on what exactly?
The booing. Okay, the Canadians were booing during the U.S. National anthem, which is something they've never done
Yeah,
before.
because of what's going on with Trump, just Mr. Polarized, Mr. Divide. By the way, if you guys just missed the whole ritual of Trudeau, who's Jesuit educated like his father was the 15th Prime Minister of Canada. Canada equals 15. On January 5th, the news breaks that Trudeau's going to resign. He gives a speech the next day. And what year did Trudeau become Prime Minister? In 2015. Um, but yeah, again, just this whole thing, everything Trump's doing has a connection to 47. He wants the Panama Canal back 47 years after we gave it away. He exits WHO, which is established on 47. 47 is the 15th prime where the Canada thing fits in, and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, I mean, just creating, and I mean, come on. On the 25th of November is when he proposed the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Again, Trump equals 25, 25% and 25. Yeah, on the 34th day of the year, he delays the tariffs to the 60th day of the year, like Donald Trump equals 60, 60th election. The reason he did that on the 34th day of the year is because tariffs equals 34. Then the next day, on the 35th day of the year, a trade war starts with China. China equals 35, as does Gaza. Gaza equals 35. Trump again, he unveiled his Gaza plan on the 35th day there. And don't forget that Netanyahu declared war on Hamas 35 days before the Superior General's birthday. That was on October 8th, 2023. From the day that the war began to the day of Trump's plan was the 487th day of the war, which is the 93rd prime. Israel was drawn up in the year 47 on 9/3. It should remind of how Afghanistan's government collapsed on the Jesuit order's 487th birthday. Again, the 93rd prime in Afghanistan's the plus 93 international dialing code. And this war in Israel began on the anniversary of us invading Afghanistan. And of course, after 9/11, it was the leader of Israel, Ehud Barak. By the way, if people don't know, State of Israel equals 201, like the Jesuit order, like the Holy Bible. There's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. Catholic equals 145. That's why Israel was born on 14/5, and David Ben-Gurion equals 145, the first prime minister who died 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment. But again, everything they're doing is right from the Bible. Zephaniah 2:4 in the Bible is about how Gaza is forsaken. Trump unveils his Gaza plan on 2:4, like that verse in the Bible. Jeremiah 47 begins with how Gaza will be destroyed. Gaza is destroyed. And now here's number 47 saying his plan is to turn it into the French Riviera. Do you think it's an accident that he mentioned France when France equals 47 and the Jesuits are from France? All of these things are little sick jokes that are going over everyone's head. And I can't stand listening to the Orange Goon talk because he's like, everyone I talk to thinks it's a glorious plan. It's like, well, 2 paragraphs earlier, you just said you're going to go in there and remove everybody by force using the military. Have we talked to the 2 million people in Gaza? I'm sure they're going to love being removed by military force. I'm sure they're all on board and they think the idea is just glorious. Another 35 to remember is Satan equals 35, as does Baphomet. And of course, the Templars were burned at the stake for worshiping Baphomet in France. And the reason modern day Israel is where it is because the Templars used Al-Aqsa Mosque as their headquarters and called it Solomon's Temple. And it's where the hardline Zionists want to tear down Al-Aqsa Mosque to build the third temple. When there's that temple coin that's been on sale now since Trump became president the first time, with his head and King Cyrus's on one side and the third temple on the other. They've been selling that coin to raise money for the third temple for a while. But yeah, all of this stuff is just, I mean, it's sad that people don't have enough knowledge to see the mockery that goes on each day. The whole Project 2025 thing, and all these people sucked in their public bar like, did you hear Trump? He said we have nothing to do with it. It's like, well, do you know who wrote Project 2025? The Heritage Foundation, and that's been the brain of the Republican Party only since the 80s when Reagan was president. And by the way, they just swore in the architect of Project 2025 last night by the numbers with 47 dissenting votes. And they did that 93 days after the election when Heritage Foundation equals 93, and the Heritage Foundation was founded on the 47th day of the year. Anyway, I'm getting tangential, but I'll pass it back.
That's okay. Yeah.
He mentioned Baphomet somewhere in there. Don't forget when that's depicted inside of the pentagram. It's a goat, going back to the goat thing. And some of the earliest examples of, well, who knows how early this got started, but human sacrifice was very prominent on the Isle of Capri. And the translation of Capri is goats. If you ever been to, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, but history of extreme violence, people getting thrown off cliffs, and Roman emperors doing anything they wanted to people. The island of goats.
Heritage Foundation, Edwin Fuellner, basically just a lowercase J, Jesuit. I don't remember if I think it's Jesuit trained Roman Catholic. Did absolute controlled opposition. He's the meaningless, substanceless hero for the impotent right. You always have the hardcore left and they win everything, and then you have an impotent person on the right who is a proud patriot Catholic. Great example is the Barack Obama run for Senate against Alan Keyes. Love the guy, but an absolutely impotent Roman Catholic that had no prayer to beat him. So
Johnny, let me qualify what you're saying. Just in general, the entire power structure of the entire world seems to have a left-leaning socialist communist kind of bent. So the effect of that would be that the leftist politicians can actually represent what they truly mean to do and then go out and actually try to do it. Whereas right-leaning politicians are usually there to claim, to give campaign promises such that their constituency would be all for it and say, this is what we've been talking about, that we're going to put this guy in office, and then somehow they've got to drop the ball and fumble it. Usually it's how it happens. But in this particular case, I'm feeling like there's also an element of, with Trump and RFK, is that maybe they will go ahead and achieve some of these things that right-leaning people have been chomping at the bit for years and decades to try to get accomplished.
Hey, I just heard that
education, whatever. And then it's the second that they get back to a leftist regime, all of that stuff will be out the window, and for good this time, because it'll be seen as this fascist evil Trump is the one that brought it in. So anything good he can do is going to be removed and permanently removed after he's done. I feel like that's an aspect of what they're doing now.
Right. And the bottom line is the politics from the left is the most utilitarian for tyranny and control. And the basic idea for the left is, hey, me, whatever makes me happy, the government will take care of me. So the government steps in. So governing from the left is the most utilitarian for tyranny. I just heard on a video report that an Obama-appointed judge has nullified the, how did he put it, the illegality of machine guns that was done by Ronald Reagan on the Firearm Owners Protection Act. So there was a single individual, last name is Brown, that was in trouble because he had one. He wasn't in trouble. He just owned one illegally. And so that went to court, and an Obama-appointed judge has said that it's unconstitutional. So something like that, it makes me think, okay, how does that help the machine? It helps the machine because the average person with a firearm has no idea who the bad guys are. And promoting personal levels of gunning up and arming up, and ultimately a big mess, civil war, conflagration, chaos. Who really gets served by that? Who are the big bad guys? Antifa? Who's the average person going to go after? That's what the machine wants. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for the machine. Zach, I'm going to let you round us up, and I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you're exhausted. I'm really thrilled to have had you here. So anything for closing?
I forgot to say about the Satan thing, the whole Satan piece of that. Most people do not know that mega is the highest degree of the Church of Satan. Anyone can look this up. It's the fifth and highest degree. I've shared with a lot of people, like, that's got to be a coincidence. It just means make America great again. It's like, no, go back and look at the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan. It was April 30th, 2011. Where was Trump that day? He was at the White House with Obama telling the joke about how Trump will become the 45th president. And every year from the Church of Satan's birthday to Trump's birthday, June 14th, is 45 days. But again, on the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, Obama jokes that Trump will become president. And again, Barak means lightning. How does Satan come to earth? He comes into earth in a bolt of lightning in Luke 10:18. That's part of the reason they had that Event 201 simulation on 10:18, paired with their other simulation that was 666 days before the pandemic was declared. When Lil Nas X put out the 666 pairs of Satan shoes, he had Luke 10:18 etched on him. That was right after Darkman X, DMX, died on his birthday. Lil Nas X just happens to have DMX die on his birthday. And DMX, in his own music and in his movie Belly, he explains that he sold his soul to the devil and the price was cheap. Kind of like Bob Dylan explained to Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes. But
speaking of the Church of Satan, I've seen some flimsy accusation with not much to back it up, although it's compelling to me either way, that this Taylor Swift is actually the secret daughter of Zena LaVey. And just looking at what Zena looked like when she was Taylor's age, they're spitting image. But I'll have to do more research to see if there's any credibility to that accusation.
I've heard that too. I've looked at it. It is compelling. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. I can't prove that it is, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I will remind people that Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, died 201 days from his own birthday, and also 201 days before the sitting Pope's birthday, who was Pope John Paul II at the time. Again, 201, just that big Jesuit number. Donald Trump, Jesuit educated, doing these little rituals with the Church of Satan. It's interesting how Church of Satan in Gematria literally equals Society of Jesus. They're a match. And again, you just got to say, what are the odds? I'll also remind people, the phrase Catholic Pope equates to 201. That there's a phrasing in the Bible for Satan as that old serpent. Used one time in the Bible, that phrase equates to 201. So again, definite parallels, and yeah, there's a lot more that can be said, but there's always next time too. So
yeah, love you, brother. No, thank you so much. I know you're exhausted, and I'm really thrilled to have had you.
Hold on. As you brought up the Elon Musk thing, people should look into Project Paperclip when we brought over the Nazis. That began on the 201st day of the year, July 20th, 1945. People should look up Adolf Hitler's birth certificate. It's Adolphus Hitler, which equals 201. Nazis have a lot of parallels with the Jesuits. The Jesuit plot to kill Hitler was also from July 20th. And Werner von Braun, we were talking about how Elon just did that thing in tribute to Werner von Braun. Werner von Braun was instrumental in the moon landing, which supposedly happened on the 201st day of the year, 24 years to the day of Project Paperclip. And it's interesting because Nazis equals 24. And look at the administration that comes into being at the end of 2024, literally doing the salute on Inauguration Day. People need to wake up or go into an ugly place.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, George, quickly.
Okay. This is not sports related. And this is a purely local item. So therefore, this doesn't have much appeal for people living in Texas or Virginia or wherever. But a couple of days ago, there was a fellow named Dennis Richmond, who was a newsreader here in the Bay Area from 1976 to 2008. And he worked for the TV station KTVU from 1968 until 2008. He died at the age of 81. And I don't have any residue, as Johnny likes to say, about him. I don't know what his religious affiliation was. I don't know if he were a Prince or Freemason. What I can tell you is he was born on the 26th of May, 1943, near Toledo, Ohio. His name was Dennis Richmond, is like Richmond, Virginia. And his cause was he was the first newsreader for a major TV market in the US starting in 1976. So they called him basically the Jackie Robinson of newsreaders and the Black Walter Cronkite, for what it's worth. Now, based on that limited information I just gave you, does anything jump out to you? As I said, his birthday was the 26th of May, 1943. Now, I do know that he was in the U.S. Army from 1961 to 64. He was 82nd Airborne. He got his undergrad degree from Wayne State, which is in Detroit, Michigan. And then I guess he worked at a TV station in Detroit for a few years before coming out west. So, do you have any comments on that?
I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of obscure,
Okay.
Georgia. It is a noteworthy figure. I'm seeing him in his Wikipedia, but it's a little obscure and
Obscure, yeah. However, but as I said, they called him the Black Walter Cronkite
Sure.
and the Jackie Robinson of
And I got you,
newsreaders.
pal. I love you, pal. I know what you're doing. You're frustrated because you're not seeing any Jezidue, and you're hoping that Zach might have some numerology on it. But we'll keep digging on it, and we'll have Zach back. It's been too long since our in between, and I'll see what his availability is, and we'll. This is a great prep for the Stupor Bowl.
Indeed, indeed. I guess just to close out one more thing
Sure.
that is big on my mind is when Trump, with the billionaire big tech guys behind him, announced the Stargate project. They did that on the 21st day of the first month, kind of like 21/1, like 211. The Stargate project equals 211, and that's the 47th prime. The last Stargate project the government did was 47 years ago, and it had to do with like telepathy and mind reading, if you want to look into that. And the guy who was the leader of that project was born in 47. But the other thing that's important is Stargate was a movie and a TV series. And the first Stargate movie came out on Bill Gates' birthday, the man who operates up on the 47th parallel in Seattle, the land of the space needle. And he started his business in the 47th state, New Mexico, associated with the UFO landing in 47. For people who haven't seen They Live, remember They Live starts with a mural of a jab on the side of a underpass in LA. And in that movie, they say they'll have full control of the world by 2025. Major Jesuit clues in that movie. Again, Cable 54 rules the world. Jesuit order equals 54. Roddy Piper tweeted on the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by Rome that it was a documentary. He died on Ignatius of Loyola's birthday. Not to mention that movie came out 201 days after his birthday. But about the Stargate project coming out on Bill Gates' birthday, remember William Henry Gates equals 201. Again, what was the major highlight from the Stargate project announcement? The head of Oracle, by the way, Oracle equals 54 like Jesuit order. He said that this technology is going to be able to, see your blood, find out exactly what's wrong with you, and make miracle vaccines within 48 hours to totally cure you. And the other thing Larry Ellison had just talked about not long before that is how where the future of AI is going, he sees a perfect utopia where everybody has to have a camera on them at all times, and the AI will be able to monitor everyone's behavior and everyone will be on their best behavior. And again, I hear them having a conversation about this, how they love it. They're like, imagine being a woman and just being able to go out and jog at night, and the streets will probably be totally safe. Again, all things are good and bad, but you have to remember who's going to control this system. The most evil, murderous cabal there ever was. You think the cameras are going to be watching them? They're going to be getting rid of all of their political enemies, knowing what all of their opposition are thinking at all times. How could you ever overthrow the tyranny?
Right.
And people are marching along to this stuff because they're that lost in the sauce. And again, we are, while Trump's talking about getting rid of the IRS and getting rid of income tax, I love it, but I see the forest for the trees. Who needs an IRS when they're moving everything to digital currency and they have AI monitoring everything? And if they get rid of income tax for a few years, you don't think the next administration is going to come back in here and make it even worse and make sure that you're taxed before you, like the Marvin Gaye song, Inner City Blues, that your money's going to be gone before it even reaches you. And this whole thing about tariffs, okay, there. If what we're looking at is a future where we don't have income tax, but consumer goods cost a lot more,
Right.
there's probably an equal trade-off there. And in a way, I would like that more because at least I'm able to keep the money I make and I can choose what I'm deciding to spend my money on.
Right.
But really look at it for what it is. It might be a trade-off right now, but in the future, it's going to be way more expensive everything, more taxation, an AI watching every last thing that you do. This is where they're taking us. And people, I don't know how people don't see it.
Right.
So.
The ridiculous numbers, we're like $36 trillion in debt, whatever that is.
Exactly.
Our money is worth a nickel today. A dollar is worth a nickel today, what it was in 1913 when they founded the Federal Reserve. Real quick, the number of birthdays and 5 different birthdays I found on October 28th. Jonas Salk, the Jewish name in the face of the polio vaccine. Bill Gates, Richard Pan, who is a local legislator out of California, who is just an absolute bitch of the pharmaceutical industry, really vicious tyrant. Joaquin Phoenix, October 28th, and Francis Borgia. I think he was the 3rd superior general, and they probably murdered Diego Lainez, a co-founder of the Jesuits, so that Francis Borgia could step in.
Died on Cannonball Day by the numbers.
Right.
Diego. Yeah. Anyway.
You're the best, man. You're the best. And what I love about you is you can take this stuff, make sense of it, and do what we do and point it back to Rome. All roads lead to Rome. Congratulations again. Love you, brothers. Absolutely thrilled to have you. And we're not going to wait so long until the next one. You let me know what your availability is. We'll make it happen.
All right. Sounds
all right,
good,
brother.
Johnny.
Have a blessed day. Love you guys. JP, George,
God
great
bless
job.
you and your family, Zach. Thanks for coming on with us, man.
Yeah, appreciate that. You guys take care. Thank you.
Take care.